Vale, Martin Hamish no está casado. Sus manos y sus uñas son las de un jardinero. Están sucias y tumefactas. Es corto de vista, usa gafas y es poco agraciado. Trabaja mucho, hasta el punto de que descuida su aspecto. Y probablemente no disfruta de una compañía femenina que le haga sentir mejor. Vive solo. Vale. Muy bien. Y la otra opción que tenemos... Vale, una lista de plantas exóticas. Esto lo tendremos que ir a mirar al registro de nuestro apartamento, ¿eh? Vale, vamos a entrar aquí dentro.
Can I help you, gentlemen?
Vale, hablar. Venga, vamos a empezar. Tenemos 3 puntos. Vale. Ojos rojos. Lloró hace poco, consumido por la pena. Corte de afeitado. Ah, pues no me había fijado que se había cortado. Así. Lo tiene aquí. Manos limpias. A dejar dinero poquito, ¿eh? Señorita White.
Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Vale. ¿Trabaja usted aquí?
Do you work here?
Yes, but part-time only. For I'm also studying botany at the University of London.
You're following in your father's footsteps, then. That is commendable.
Well, even if botany is not my strongest suit, there are people who say that I could be a good manager.
Vale, colección colonial mermada.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah. At the moment, I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
Relación con su padre.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path, and I have to manage Kew Gardens. And I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
Vale, Martin Hamish.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the deputy director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the deputy director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? That is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honour of being the garden's longest-serving employee.
Vale.
In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how was his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. It was obvious. He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. That my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. Dismissively. With indifference.
Vale.
Thank you, young man. We
Reunirse con
shall
la
see you
señorita
again
White.
soon.
Vale, vámonos a ver a la señorita White. En el semillero. Aquí es la sala esta... Vale. La sala del accidente, del asesinato. ¿Esto qué es? Puerta. Gráfica, clima
According to
tropical.
this, they have light and moisture control in some parts of the building.
Vale. Clima tropical, ¿eh? Pues aquí no hay nada que mirar, ¿no?
There is a smell of burning.
Vale, huele a quemado. Está aquí. Digo, ¿dónde está el fuego? Está aquí. R1. Hoguera. Maceta roja. Examinar hoguera. Maceta rota, vale.
The
Emblema.
symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
Bien. Parte de una
The
planta.
plants were set alight fairly recently. Some have not completely burned.
Máscara.
A protective mask.
Máscara chamuscada.
Someone set it alight, but it did not burn.
Vale, bien.
The
Marco.
remains of a picture frame.
Escoba
A
quemada.
broom handle was half burned.
Pomo.
A door handle? Why would anyone throw such a thing in the fire? The door handle to the colonial collection and that of the fireplace are made of the same material.
Vale. Vale, hoguera examinada, ¿eh? Y está intentando ocultar pruebas, ¿eh? Ven, Watson, que vamos al semillero, ven. Mírala.
Look, Holmes, this charming lady must be Miss White. She's entering the seed house.
Portezuela, abrir.
A
Depósito de
water
agua.
tank.
Vale.
A
Motor
ventilation
sistema
system.
de
It
ventilación.
should regulate the temperature of the staff buildings.
No sé si es esto el semillero, ¿eh? Seed house, semillero, vale. Bien. Venga, vamos a hablar con Margaret White.
Good day to you, miss. You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir, and good day to you too. But
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John Watson. This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. My name is Margaret White. Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
What a pleasure to see you here at Kew Gardens. Are you working on a case?
Sí, vamos a investigarla. Tenemos 3 puntos. Vale, mira, el primero ya ha salido. Perfume caro. No, espérate. Esto debe ser algo de la ropa, ¿eh? Seguramente. No. Las manos. Mira. Ah. Soltera. Vale, y las manos las tiene como rojizas, tío. Aquí. Señales rosadas. Malnutrición en el pasado, pelagra, familia humilde. Vale. No, que no fuera quemado, del fuego. Venga, robo de plantas.
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh, yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
El incidente.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
Yes. The director was a truly good man. It is such a terrible misfortune.
Vale, colección colonial mermada.
Would you happen to know why part of the colonial collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
Vale, trabaja aquí.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
Vale, relaciones con el director.
How well did you know Mr. Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great leader. I saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic, and very nice to me. Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son dearly and wanted the very best for him. It made him extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
Uy, esta tenía algún rollo con el padre. ¿Cómo ha entrado?
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies without disturbing him. It is only temporary.
Vale, tiene la llave
Thank you,
ella,
miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious.
Vale, reunirse con la señorita White completado. Vale, vamos a mirar a ver qué tenemos por aquí. Tenemos personaje, vale. Margaret White. La señorita Margaret White es soberbia y parece pudiente. Sin embargo, se aprecian puntitos marrones en sus manos, sin duda causados por la pelagra, una enfermedad que aflora tras largos periodos de malnutrición. Eso indica que pasó su niñez en la pobreza. Las muestras de su actual riqueza dan fe de un cambio radical en su vida. Vale, y Albert Dunn es un hombre nervioso, acusado por la ansiedad, a juzgar por qué se muerde las uñas. Utiliza demasiado detergente para lavarse las manos, algo que no es muy aconsejable teniendo en cuenta que trabaja con plantas. Tiene los ojos rojos, ha llorado profusamente no hace mucho. Su edad indica que aún está en la universidad. Es apuesto, soltero y probablemente vive con su madre. Vale, ¿y qué más tenemos aquí? Vale, tenemos que mirar también en los archivos. El emblema de la maceta rota que hallamos en el patio trasero no es el de los Kew Gardens. El símbolo significa divino, si no me equivoco. Vale, y esto aquí también hay que mirarlo. Vale, bien. Vale. Al igual que mató al señor Montague Dunn, inspeccionar los edificios del personal de los Kew Gardens y recopilar la información, encontrar la planta que se empleó para matar al señor Montague Dunn. Vale, vamos a mirar por aquí. No sé si tendremos alguna cosa que mirar. O nos vamos directamente a nuestro apartamento para... No, no hay nada aquí, Aquí tenemos algo.
From here,
Ventana.
we are unable to see the interior of the colonial collection room.
Vale. Vale, pues podríamos ir... A ver. Nursery. Vivero. Vale. Podríamos ir a nuestro apartamento a mirar esos dos archivos, a ver qué nos indican, Porque aquí, vale, esa es la zona donde hubo el accidente. Y aquí ya hemos salido fuera, porque ahora ya estamos fuera. La única opción que tenemos es, no sé si algún personaje de estos nos dirá algo más, creo que no. A ver, hablar. Ah, pues mira, sí. Llaves.
Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before. And now all of a sudden he is trying to act as if he owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
Vale, Albert Dan.
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was?
Oh, yes. He forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who is such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
Vale, Margaret White.
You mentioned a Miss White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a student who works here part-time. She is quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she carried out in the laboratory. Ah, if only she were not so naive.
Why naive?
The way she used to flutter around Mr. Montague Dunn. And why, he couldn't help but be flattered by all her attention. How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not see through his game? I can only scratch my head and wonder.
Thank you,
Tenían
Mr.
algún
Hamish.
lío, ¿eh?
We shall continue our investigation.
Tenían algún lío estos dos, ¿eh? Por eso ya os lo he dicho antes que... Ahí había algo. Vamos a hablar con el Albert este, a ver si está. Está aquí. Llaves.
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Vale. ¿Qué nos ha dado? Encontrado un uso. Un juego de llaves para todas las puertas de los Kew Gardens excepto la de los vestuarios. Vale, había una sala que no podíamos entrar. Que creo que era esta primera. Aquí, el vivero. Abrir, vale. De momento aquí no hay nada interesante, nada. Escritorio de trabajo, examinar. Vale, venga, vamos. Libro de Martin
A
Hamish.
thesis written by Martin Hamish.
Vale. Funda de gafas.
A glasses case. It is empty. This area serves as Martin Hamish's office.
Vale. Vivero,
These young
examinar.
plants must be delicate if they are kept in the nursery.
What should we do next, Holmes?
A ver, estoy intentando encontrar algo más por aquí, pero parece ser que o voy perdido o a ver, un momento, déjame mirar. Busto. Examinar. Vale, busto coger. Mover. Seguro que le falta el trozo este de la cabeza. Lasca.
I am curious if the marble that we found will fit this place.
Cotejar.
Here it is. The marble fragment that we found in the Colonial Collection Room is what they have in common.
Vale. Placa.
It is a bust of Montague Dunn.
O sea que le atizaron con esto, ¿eh? Vale, semillas
The
nuevas.
seeds of plant species are stored here.
Vale, aquí no podemos averiguar nada. Y aquí seguramente... Vale, abrir. Vale, aquí salimos fuera. Vamos a hablar con...
Seed house.
Semillero, sí. Vamos a hablar con la Margaret
Kew
White.
Gardens is such an exciting place. Wouldn't you agree?
Sí. Bueno, depende. No sé si tendremos que hablar con el... con el Albert o con el... Vamos a hablar con los dos, a ver qué nos dicen. Supongo que no habrá nada más para abrir. Los vestuarios debe ser esto de aquí. Que ya no me debe dar la opción. Ah, sí, mira, usar llave. Ah, mira, coño, tío. Qué bueno. Vale, R1. Bien. Mesa de laboratorio. Huella de una botella. Mesa de examinar. Huella de una
There was a
botella.
bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory.
Vale. Salpicaduras.
Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around.
Vale, hay otra aquí en el suelo, ¿eh?
Several drops of the substance.
Vale. ¿Qué más tenemos aquí? Polvo de oro.
Good heavens. What's it doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent.
Vale.
We need a good nose.
Pues ya sabemos quién es Toby. Vale, recoger a Toby. Un momentito. Déjame mirar aquí antes. A ver. Fonógrafo.
A phonograph used for voice recording. Remarkable.
Yes, this is quite a modern laboratory.
Cilindro.
I don't hear anything.
Usar cilindro. Girar manivela.
Hamish's perception of plants. The notion of communication in the plant world has long been considered marginal, yet I remain convinced that some plants do indeed transmit chemical signals in the event of attack.
A study report by Martin Hamish.
Vale, ¿y el otro? Venga.
And it seems clear from these multiple experiments that plants do respond to their environment and have a form of consciousness. Margaret White, February 1895. Report number 245.
Study report.
Vale, fonógrafo se requiere un objeto. Vale, necesitamos... vale. Examinamos esta
This is
mesa
a
de aquí.
table for experiments. It resembles my own.
Only this one is kept in good order, Holmes.
Muy bien, Watson. Vale, ¿qué más tenemos por aquí? Puerta a abrir, vale. ¿Aquí qué? Equipo de protección. Falta uno.
It appears as though the protective equipment is missing from here.
Máscara.
Such masks are generally worn when dealing with toxic chemicals.
Vale. Prendas protectoras.
Gloves, waterproof aprons, everything one might need for self-protection.
Do they grow dangerous plants here?
Pues puede ser que sí, ¿eh? Libro universitario. Examinar.
A
Título.
botany book.
Un libro de botánica. Vale, rotar. Nombre.
This student's book belongs to Albert.
Vale, armario de... Armario de botellas de reactivos. Examinar.
Chemicals. A sufficient quantity for some serious experiments.
Vale, ¿qué más tenemos por aquí? Aquí veo bastantes cosas, para averiguar. Aquí en el fonógrafo nos falta una cinta que nos dirá algo interesante. Igual está aquí
Holmes,
dentro,
Albert Dunn didn't give us the key to this door.
It does not matter. We will open it.
Claro que sí, muy bien. Vale, hostia, nen. No me acordaba de estos cilindros ya, Vale, bien. Vale, ahora rodar todo. Ah, vale, L2. No, este está bien así, No, este también está bien así. Ah, coño. Vale. 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 O sea, ese es Vale, este es el principal. Vale, esto tiene pinta que tiene que ir así. Ahora. Este así. Este va aparte. Vale, vale. 1, 2.